This movie is one of the most successful and memorable action films of the noughties. Many rewatch this movie with great pleasure, and of course, millions of viewers still dream of being in the place of its main characters. However, there is nothing perfect in this world, so today on About Movies, we are going to tell you about the mistakes and logical inconsistencies that you might not have noticed in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Click on the secret red subscription button and on the bell to understand cinema at a professional level. And now, we start. Huh? They just shot it with a gun? Well, I thought people hunt barracuda differently. How does it work? Why are tourists traveling in pairs automatically considered innocent? Oh yeah, why not show the cops that you're hiding a gun under your clothes? Great idea. Keep it up. Lightning managed to flash 50 times in 1 minute. And here's the question, where did such a bright light source come from during a downpour? Jane is one of those women who wake up in the morning with wonderful makeup. What are the chances that two tourists who meet somewhere very far in Colombia will turn out to be residents of the same city, and even employees of one very unusual work sphere?
Gotta get these filters changed.
So what did you think of Dr. Wexler? His questions were a bit wishy-washy.
The magic of editing. 1 minute they were in the bathroom and then they were in the dressing room. Is this some kind of spy teleport? Excuse me, but can someone explain it to me? His target is only Lucky. Did he kill the rest of the guys just to get rid of unnecessary witnesses? If so, wouldn't it have been easier to kill Lucky quietly somewhere in the alley, instead of putting on this show with a poker game leaving a mountain of corpses behind? It seems like John's killer school also taught their spies telekinesis. Otherwise, it is unclear how he slammed the door and a second later, together with the chair, moved directly to the table. Here's a cliche, any lock opens if you shoot it. It's probably so easy to get lost in the crowd on the streets of New York that no one will notice how a person lands from the top of a skyscraper right in the middle of a sidewalk. And how did she manage to fly all the way to the highway if she originally went down along the wall? And of course, to maximize the visual impact of this moment, there is a free taxi right next to Jane's landing place. Why didn't she change her BDSM mistress outfit in the car? It's really risky. What if John would have found her at home like this after all? Besides, how didn't she hear the sound of her husband's car approaching, being a cool undercover agent? Or does John like quiet walks from the crime scene to the house after completing tasks? How did John manage to build a whole bunker in secret from his wife? We can assume she went on a business trip and he took advantage of her absence, but there was a lawn and bushes around the barn that could not be damaged during construction work. Jane would definitely notice the difference. In general, the irresponsibility of this couple is off the scale. And how did they not expose each other from the very first months of their life together? In the scene where Jane is exploring the area with binoculars, the camera crew is visible in the reflection of the lens. By the way, somehow, without changing the location, Jane manages to observe the cars from two different viewing points through the same binoculars. The rocket launcher R-47 Widowmaker does not really exist. Probably the main characters have some kind of special aura because bullets never hit the unprotected parts of their body. The coordinates on the display do not correspond to reality. This is definitely not the Mexican border. It's just a brilliant plan to put the explosives, which raise a lot of dust within a radius of 100 meters, in the path of armored cars. I think it would be easier to do this with a directed shot from some kind of grenade launcher. Moreover, the visibility in this place is perfect. I think it's a bad idea to buy components for your computers using the real address of the cover company. Judging by the fact that Jane saw through John thanks to his manner of jerking his right leg when urinating, they aren't used to closing the doors in their toilet. Initially, John drove a black Cadillac, but in this scene we see a Lincoln, which John actually has to steal much later. Apparently, some scenes were replaced during the editing. Looking at the dashboard, we can understand that the car's engine is not turned on. Moreover, the Lincoln dashboard does not look like that at all. Hey, John, do you want to check if everything is clear on the other side of the corridor? Or do you feel the back of your head if they want to attack you from behind? For some reason, Jane began to zigzag around the corridor, although she could leave as quickly as possible in the most direct way. Also, she and John probably had a mental connection because he guessed which way she would drive. That's what a true professional usually does. Runs around with his finger on the trigger and accidentally shoots anywhere. The front plate has suddenly disappeared from Jane's car. And who kept stepping on the gas while John was enjoying views from a backseat window? Also, John didn't receive any scratches like a true superhero. And while our heroes are thinking about their marriage, I suggest you share your opinion in the comments. Do you like such a format? And which film would you like to analyze in this way next time? It's really important for us to know your opinion. Meanwhile, Jane returned home early in the morning, and apparently her company employed alternate versions of Flash from other universes, because only the fastest man in the world would have had the time to turn the huge house upside down before John arrived, find the bunker with weapons, and then clean everything up to a shine. Obviously, along with John's firearms, his wife took the door latch, and also for some reason she painted the door hinges white. Of course, all vent systems are designed in such a way that an adult man could easily move along them. And look at this great lighting there. Why didn't they call for an evacuation immediately when the sensors detected John? Instead, they were waiting for the couple to exchange their caustic pleasantries over the phone. I wonder how John even dragged a huge, probably heavy safe from the top floor of a skyscraper to his friend's room. Maybe with the help of some loaders? No, this is definitely another confirmation that he's not a killer, he's a superhero. It isn't absolutely clear why so many untouched documents were left in the safe. And of course, by a lucky chance, it was the piece of logo that remained intact. And why didn't Jane worry that John neutralized all the charges on the cables but forgot to do the same with the main one, which should have been removed first? John faked his death using a video camera that allegedly transmitted footage from the third elevator, which Jane's crew blew up. But how did this footage go missing at the exact moment the third elevator went down? John couldn't tell exactly when to turn off the camera. And why did the broadcast from John's camera start working again after the explosion? In this scene, John first hanged the napkin on his arm, and a second later we can see it wrapped around the bottle. The Smiths were just on the edge of the dance floor, but in the next frame, they were already in the middle.
Do you know that you're ticking?
Sure, after all, the killer's explosives must always be ticking so that the victims can detect them and escape. By the way, did John have hearing problems? Otherwise, why did some old man who was just passing by hear the ticking first? This car is not actually driving, as the center console is not lighting up. Wait, but this is the same Mercedes that had crashed in the bushes before. Probably they managed to take it to a car service during a break between showdowns, because there was no longer a hole in the windshield from a bullet that John accidentally fired. Or maybe this Mercedes is armored? Look, it just has rammed another car and remained completely intact, without a single scratch. Here, we can see that a stuntman is driving a car instead of Angie. During the chase, John's jacket appeared and disappeared at will. First, John was riding in a shirt, then he was in a jacket, and then again in a shirt. It must have gotten cold during the chase. In this scene, we can see the stuntman is jumping into bushes instead of Brad. Just in one shot, the hole in the glass grew in size. The teapot has disappeared between shots. The Smith's refrigerator is apparently made from the same bulletproof material as the Mercedes. By the way, who put out the fire after this explosion? The fire couldn't go out on its own. We were just beating each other with our hands, feet, and bottles, but we feel so great that we rush to have sex immediately after that.
Yeah.
Is everything okay? We heard an awful ruckus.
No, everything's fine here.
Ruckus? So you're not able to distinguish shots from ordinary ruckuses, but their gunfight should have been heard by the whole area. Why did neighbors, and not cops, talk to those who broke silence? And they silently stood behind civilians. Either they were afraid or they were embarrassed. And why didn't the police check the house? Oh yes, the Smiths said they were fine. Imagine what would happen if the police always took everyone's word for it. Between shots, the actors managed to switch their places. For some reason, Jane's eyes have changed their color. They used to be blue-green, but then they turned brown. Also, during the whole movie before, she didn't have a tattoo on her arm.
3 ribs, broken eye socket, perforated eardrum.
And speaking of injuries, why didn't both of them receive any obvious injuries during all these 6 years? Or did they simply not notice any abrasions and fractures on each other? Here's a cliche: the bomb must have a countdown timer with red numbers. What is the reason to keep a fuel tank in a house with central heating? The explosion instantly killed all the bad guys in bulletproof vests, while Jane and John in their underwear remained unharmed. Here's another confirmation that the Smiths are superheroes. And what luck that right now the car of their neighbors is on its place, and there is no one near the house. Here's another cliche: stealing a car with the help of 2 wires. If someone is slightly knocked down while moving backwards, he immediately loses consciousness. And how did this guy get under the wheels if he was lying far to the side? The Smiths, who were living in the suburbs of New York, suddenly entered the Terminal Island Freeway and somehow miraculously found themselves on the outskirts of Los Angeles. There are some magical metamorphoses with the seats in the car. First, the driver's seat was leather and the passenger one was in a case. The next moment, both seats turned fabric. Usually in mirrors, the image is inverted. I highly doubt the Smith's neighbor had his minivan modified so that the onboard computer would allow the tailgate to be opened on the go.
Honey, let me drive.
I got it.
Move over. Move. I'm the suburban housewife, sweetheart. You move.
Fine.
Wait, but you drive a Mercedes.
They're bulletproof!
And why not try to shoot the wheels? The cross on the rearview mirror is appearing and then disappearing. What the hell is the agent doing with live grenades? Was he going to throw them into people in the city? These water tanks are glowing so suspiciously. Something tells me in the next moment they will be blown into pieces, not from a collision with cars, but from explosives which are planted there by special effects masters. Oh, here's another hello from California. In New York, tanks are filled not with water, but with sand, because the water freezes in winter. While running away from villains, our heroes heavily wet the car. The windshield was covered in drips of water, but in the next frame, the car turned perfectly dry and the view became simply magnificent. At first, one lamp disappeared from the car, but in the next frame, it returned to its place. It's useless to shoot at these vehicles because they are armored. So, let's disable them by shooting at them. This is another cliche. If you shoot a wheel, it will surely fly off. Here, we can see some kind of cage, apparently for the safety of stuntmen. According to the coordinates, John is currently not in New York. He's somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. Moreover, the rate of data change is so high that our hero must run through the pipes at a high speed of 100 kilometers per hour. What is such a bright light doing in the sewer pipes? So that John wouldn't be scared and lonely in the sewers, he took someone else for company. Look, here's someone's hand hanging from the ceiling.
They found out you're married, so they teamed up and sent you to the same hit to target each other and wanted you to take each other out.
The logic of the Smiths' bosses is completely absent. They could have just quietly killed them in their own offices instead of having that circus act in the desert. And how are they supposed to kill each other? Most likely, only one of them would have died, but the superiors wanted to eliminate them both. But even more absurd is the fact that for 6 years, the bosses of competing companies didn't know that their employees were married. After all, they should have a super cool security system and accordingly constant personnel control. It would also be logical to assume that the husband and wife most likely love each other and are not capable of killing their loved ones. Sure, all pairs have some disagreements, but…
Let me clarify. I love my wife. I want her to be happy. I want good things for her. But there are times…
But not to foresee the risk that the heroes can unite instead of blowing each other's brains out. This is the height of idiocracy. Do they plan all their operations this way? The bosses wanted to kill their best employees so badly that they were ready to sacrifice another undercover agent. Indeed, whoever needs him? One more agent or less? The right people are so easy to recruit and train. All in all, here we have one solid, hopeless plot hole. Why does the sensor have a built-in display? The heroes were sitting in room 49, but for some reason, the first wall was number 112. How did they manage to crawl under the lattice right under the noses of the special forces and the guys in helicopters? I also wonder how they fit with their huge bags in such a small space. And of course, even under such powerful spotlights, no one noticed a suspicious movement under their feet.
I say we stay, we fight. We finish this thing.
So, does your plan mean to kill the full agency together and get away with it?
That's a great plan, Walter. That's fucking ingenious, if I understand it correctly. It's a Swiss fucking watch.
At first, John was fighting off the agents with one wrench, but after a second, for some reason, he was doing that with 2 ones. It's unlikely that any knife, especially an ordinary kitchen knife, is suitable for the role of a throwing one. Jane used to throw all the knives at chest level, but the last one she suddenly decided to throw down. It's possible to see that the knife which stabbed in John's leg actually got into a special lining under his pants. Most likely, all these agents learned shooting in the same place as the Imperial Stormtroopers. And since what time did stainless steel bullets knock out such a salute? When Jane ran into the elevator, she was holding a machine gun, but in the next frame, when the elevator opened, we can see a handgun in her hands. The bullet hole in her shirt vanished without a trace the next moment. The bad guys turned out to be very polite. Instead of attacking immediately, they decided to wait until their victims sort things out and, like true gentlemen, let them decide when the fight would begin. And again, here's this magical aura of the main characters. All bullets hit them exclusively in their bulletproof vests, which turned later just into smithereens. But other parts of Jane's and John's bodies remained safe and sound. What can I say? In the real world, no matter how cool the Smiths were, all this crowd of killers would finish them off quickly enough. But this is the movie where Mr. and Mrs. Smith kept demonstrating some incredible superpowers, so they prevailed in the final firefight without a single serious injury. But let's be honest, all these logical inconsistencies and blunders don't make this film worse. For example, our About Movies team loves it as much as before. But what really worries us is the rumors that a remake of this film is being prepared. Of course, this news doesn't make you want to joyfully jump to the ceiling at all. Usually, attempts of studios to resurrect old franchises end in failure. For example, Disney and its endless remakes keep collecting the box office, but every time it disappoints its fans more and more. If you click on this icon, you'll find out how everyone's favorite studio turned into an evil corporation that profits from our nostalgia. Follow the link and watch. You must know the truth. And that's all for today. We'll be grateful if you like this video. See you in the new videos. Bye-bye.